Good day. I am with Miss Denisha Gantz, speaker of the Spice of Life Foundation. She is a J.P. McCaskey Alumni, productive member of society, and she is here to speak with us about her nonprofit organization. Good.
Hey, Ethan.
May you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, for me, like you said, I'm a graduate of McCaskey High School. We started the Spice of Life Foundation in memory of my dad. He did a lot with the community, a lot with coaching and educational, different things with the community, and we want to continue to do those things that he was doing.
Yes, his name was Mr.
States-Gantz.
A.K.A. Booby.
Yes.
Yes. May you tell us about your relationship as far as like with your foundation?
My relationship with the foundation?
Yes, as far as like how you go with it.
As far as how I go what?
How you go about your operations, the story.
Well, everything to me when it comes to a relationship with the Spice of Life Foundation is love. That's everything. Everything he did with the community and with anybody else had a lot of love behind it. So everything that we do, that is how we intend to do it. To make sure that everything that we do is with the love of Lancaster in mind.
Yes, I remember he was an AU coach for Kobe, CJ, Brandon Allen, and of course Kamal Gantz. Yeah, he was a man who inspired a lot of people with his military discipline, but also telling them to dream big, but also put the work ethic behind it. And he was a man of good character, and best of all, he's a J.P. McCaskey Alumni, and I believe he earned a lot of respect in the community for joining the military. Speaking of the impact, like, how has Mr. Collins Gant impacted you to start the foundation?
I think the best way for me to answer that would be to say every day of my life was an impact for the foundation. I didn't think that until after he passed away, but all he was doing with me was laying the foundation to do this.
And may you tell me what inspires you to give back to the community?
My dad. When I seen the outcome of people that he touched come out to support us after he passed away, it let me know how much of an impact he had on our community.
Yes. Speaking of the community events, I see you have the June 19th event.
Yeah.
That was hosted at Lancaster County Park. I believe I was there. May you tell me more about that date?
Well, this event is for Juneteenth. We will do it again this year. The Juneteenth event is basically to let the African American community know more about what that date means to us, which would be basically the same as an Independence Day, the July 4th that everyone else celebrates. That's the easiest way to explain what Juneteenth would be to the African American community. That signifies the date of our freedom.
Yes, it was definitely a life-changing experience for many people. Thousands of African Americans lived in the South, uprooted to north, the west, and the East Coast. Part of the Great Migration, trying to get away from the Jim Crow laws. And also about the Spice of Life Foundation, may you tell me some of the family values that it encourages?
It's a hard question. It actually, everything that we do should encourage all different types of family values. From keeping what most people have forgotten about, the village, making sure that everybody is included in raising the child. If I'm not doing right and the kid sees me, but you are doing right, they get a glimpse of both. If we're all doing what we're supposed to be doing, then that shows them how we're supposed to be. That's as simple as cleaning up your community. If you're walking around throwing trash around, you don't have any pride in the way that your community looks, you're not going to have pride in the way you look or what you do. So it could be something as simple as that, or as big as just loving your neighbor.
Yes. And as far as the Spice of Life Foundation, like, how was the title created?
That would be my dad. My dad made the name the Spice of Life Foundation, right? My nanny Pepper, her name is Pepper. So that's where the Spice of Life came from.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan.
You're welcome. Welcome, Ms. Kimberly Gantz. What a pleasure and honor to see you in person, but also interview you. I understand you're a well-educated woman, smart, and you know how to lay down the line in your education field. Let's start with you as a J.P. McCaskey alumni. May you tell us the sports you used to play there?
Okay, I ran track and high jump, but I wouldn't say that I was like my sons or my husband. You know, not that good, but I could run.
And also, may you tell me about some of your friends you remember from J.P. McCaskey?
I had a lot of friends, but most of my interactions were with like cousins. So I have a lot of family in Lancaster, so most of the people that I spent time with were cousins. I have two friends, Carmen and Lindell. They were probably two of the people that we hung out the most with, and my twin sister, of course. So
And that would be Kelly?
That's Kelly.
How did it feel to have a twin not only in your house, the same household as you, but also going to the same school together?
And in the same classroom sometimes. In the beginning, my mom dressed us alike. We always had different colors. I wore blue, she wore red. So we fought a lot for our own identity once we became maybe around 14 or 15. We always looked the same, sound the same, and we wanted to be different. So like I might have cut my hair really short and she kept hers long. She was into geology, like she liked to study rocks, and I was more into like horticulture. This was when we were trying to figure out who we were. But as we got older, we were different. So, you know, it wasn't much of a struggle anymore because we started to, you know, do different things and became our own selves.
And may you tell me one of your favorite memories with your twin sister?
Probably when we played softball at Burroughs Elementary, and we were pretty tall for our age. So just being able to kind of showcase what we could do. Like I said, I'm not an athlete like my kids, but we were pretty athletic growing up. So just having that time, we were never really into, my mom and dad kept us very sheltered, so we weren't always out all the time. If we were out, we were with our family, but being able to do things after school, and one of those was play softball, and it's probably one of my best memories of spending time with my sister.
Yes. Yeah, once you graduated from J.P. McCaskey, I've learned that you end up applying and got accepted at Millersville University for the bachelor's program. May you tell us your major?
My major is elementary education with a focus on early childhood. So I was dual certified. And I just always enjoyed learning and being with kids. So when I was around, I knew I wanted to be a teacher when I was like 10. And that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I was going to do. So I did. And when I graduated from McCaskey, I took time off to work and get a car and get myself ready to be a college student. So I really didn't start Millersville until I was like 21. And it was pretty easy for me because it was something I wanted to do. So that's the journey I took. And I graduated in, oh gosh, now I'm dating myself, 1996. I graduated from Millersville. Elementary education, early childhood. And one of the things I always did, even as a young student, was I always tried to be around kids, and I set my life up so that that would be my background. So I babysat. At McCaskey, I was a part of their program where you could go to Wickersham and help teachers teach. So I did that my senior year, and that was for credits. And then when I graduated, got a job, worked, got a car so I could drive back and forth to school, and I lived at home, so I wasn't on campus, and I worked.
Yes. How did it feel to cross the finish line on your day of graduation?
Well, it was great because I was pregnant with CJ. So it was a journey. It took me 5 years. 'Cause like I said, I worked and then I met my husband and we started our family with Denisha. And it was really hard because we were young. You know, we started out young and you have bills and you have, you know, responsibilities. So I took time off in between semesters and worked. And so at that point, it was one of the best feelings ever to be finished and then to be able just to go in and start my life.
That's very important because women sacrifice a whole lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it goes unrecognized. Sometimes it does become recognized, but I believe it's important to recognize someone like you,
Yeah.
who's not only persevered, overcome the adversity, but you also had someone, actually family in your corner the whole way through.
Yeah.
So that was a great support system. Upon graduating from Millersville University, one of your first jobs was at School District Lancaster for teaching?
Well, I've always been in the child care business. So I worked at Lancaster Daycare, I worked at Learning Ladder, I worked at YWCA, YMCA, and then when I was pregnant with Kobe Gantz, I decided I wanted to take a shot at teaching in the school district. And I was scared to do it because I didn't think I could juggle being a first-year teacher and have children. But I did, and I put in my application, and Mrs. Diane Fisher, who was the principal in our district at the time, hired me like an hour after my interview, and I was there ever since, 19, 20 years.
And I believe you taught at Price Elementary?
I did. Most of my teaching was at Price Elementary, first and second grade. I love second grade, but I've taught both. And then I took a year where I worked at Lincoln Middle School and taught sixth grade communication arts. And that was when Mrs. Fisher left Price and she went to Lincoln as their principal. So she asked me if I would go with her, and I said I would. And then teaching there was probably the most difficult teaching job I had because the kids are older and their problems are really deep. And you know, when you're working with little kids, you can inspire and you can kind of mold them. But when they're 13, 12, 13, 14, they're kind of in their way of being and they're a little tough. So I wasn't tough enough to be, I think, a middle school teacher. I could be, but I didn't feel comfortable. It wasn't who I was. I needed to do more of the nurturing. So I ran back to Price Elementary and I taught first grade. And so, yeah.
May you tell us some of your memories at Price Elementary?
I love Price Elementary. One of the things that's different nowadays is back when I first started, our schools in the city were more family-oriented. Like, when I had my boys and Denisha, they were younger, but we could take them to school. When I had staff meetings, we would like set up a little area and turn on a movie and have popcorn, and I would be in a meeting and they would be, you know, in my classroom on the computer or whatever. So the memories of having more of a family unit is what was really special to me. And also, we had a lot of family support. Our community was very supportive. So whenever we did things, we always had like hundreds of people at our after school events, and it just felt like a family. It was inspiring, and I think more joyful. I'm not saying that, I think, no, I will be honest, now is really hard to be a teacher because we have, you know, there's so much going on in the world now, and technology wasn't that big when I was coming through, but now everything is immediate and fast, and the kids are a little tougher than they used to be. So it's Not saying that I wouldn't want to teach again in a city school, but just the demands and politics and things like that have changed so much. It's not what it used to be for me as a teacher, but Price is one of my best teaching experiences.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have left.
Yeah.
You know, I would still be there if Collins hadn't passed away. I would still be there, but I don't know how good of a teacher I would be, because, you know, the grieving process is hard, but yeah.
And my last question is, how were you able to balance out being a mother and a teacher and a wife?
It was hard. It was hard because I have a way of trying to be a perfectionist and good and always trying to do the right things, and you can't always be that. Things are going to fall, you know. You can't always be the best parent, you can't always be the best wife, you know, or the best teacher. You're not always going to be okay. And for me, it was difficult to do because, well, my husband spoiled me, and he was always, you know, very supportive of me, but he was also very strong and very demanding and pushed a lot. So I think the hardest part of being a wife was being able to stand with him and have the drive that he had, and to keep going even when you're hurting and when you're sad and when you're scared. So that was hard because I was kind of sheltered, you know, as a kid, and I've always kind of had what I wanted through life. Not that my life was easy, but it wasn't as hard as it was when I became a wife. And as a mother, I don't know, you know, if I did okay with being a mother. You don't know. You just, you know, have to see what happens when your children grow up. But balancing all three things and being a teacher, a wife, and a mother, you get it done. You get it done. You know, you just do what you have to do and you take it day by day.
I believe you did a great job of being a mother because all your children graduated from high school, all your children are positive influences in the community, and they also made you proud that day that they graduated.
Yeah,
because that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
And best importantly is that your children not only excelled in sports, but they have learned from your family values inside the household.
And that is one of the things, too, that even though, you know, all families aren't 100% great, but we're all very supportive of each other, and we've always come to each other's aid when we needed to be there, and even when we've done things wrong, because, you know, my kids are great, but, you know, all kids do things, you know, we all do things, but just being able to not judge, and that was one of the things about my husband, too. He was kind of like, do you, you know, he was that kind of person, and we all learned a lot from each other, I think, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you very much for your time and your energy and your positive influence for this interview.
Thank you.
You're welcome.